Welcome, football fans. Buckle up for another hard-hitting episode of Let's Talk XFL, the only podcast solely focused on the XFL. From a sunny Southwest Florida studio, here's your host, Michael Lathrop.
Hello, football fans. This is episode 46, Finalized Coaching Staffs. This episode is brought to you by our friends at Royal Retros by 503 Sports. Royal Retros are the king of throwbacks. Royal Retros by 503 Sports provides a line of merchandise from legendary defunct leagues such as the XFL 1.0. If you have always wanted to get yourself a quality Las Vegas Outlaws He Hate Me or Los Angeles Extreme Tommy Maddox jersey, perhaps even an OG XFL's team's t-shirt, we have you covered. Simply click on the link provided in the show's description and notes and enter the code LETSTALKXFL at checkout to receive 10% off your purchase. This past week, we had 2 XFL announcements. In addition, later in the show, I will be joined by fullback tight end Andre Sims to discuss his football journey and XFL Florida Showcase experience. But first, we have those developments to cover. So, let's get to it.
Did you hear the news? Did you hear the news?
On September 13th, the XFL announced it has finalized coaching staffs and key positions for its 8 teams. Among the positions filled, positional coaches, athletic trainer, equipment manager, and video managers. I am not going to break down every team's hire by title, but I will include a link to the hires in this episode's description and notes. However, there are a few I want to mention. Most notably, XFL Las Vegas linebackers coach Dr. Jen Welter. She returns to the alternative football coaching ranks. Her resume includes the following stints: 2015, Texas Revolution as linebacker and special teams coach. 2015, with the Arizona Cardinals as assistant coaching intern. And 2019, with Atlanta Legends as a defensive specialist. In addition to her coaching experience, Welters earned her master's degree in sports psychology from Boston College and her PhD in psychology from Capella University. I also want to point out 10 USFL coaches have jumped ship to join XFL staffs for 2023. These are the following coaches to do so. The Birmingham Stallions have lost Bill Johnson to Houston as defensive line coach, Corey Chamblin to San Antonio as defensive backs coach, John Himbach to Arlington as offensive line and special teams coach. The Houston Gamblers lose Greg McMahon to Houston as special teams coach, Tim Lewis to Arlington as co-defensive coordinator, Ty Warren to Orlando as defensive line coach, Mark Snyder to Orlando as linebackers coach. The New Jersey Generals lost Chris Dishman to Las Vegas as defensive coordinator. The New Orleans Breakers lost Paul Spicer to San Antonio as defensive line coach. And the Tampa Bay Bandits lost Pat Perils to St. Louis as offensive line coach. We knew the leagues would compete aggressively for players. I am a bit surprised to see a significant number of coaches giving up their guaranteed roles in the USFL to join XFL staffs. This is somewhat of a bad look for the USFL. On the flip side, it looks favorably on the XFL and provides more credibility for its relaunch in 2023. Then, on September 15th, the XFL announced Jason Gonella as Senior Vice President of Ticket Sales. In this role, he will lead the planning and development of the league's ticket sales, services, and operations for the league and each of the 18 markets. Gonella will be responsible for all aspects of the league's ticketing sales, strategy, and analytics. He will develop and oversee a full suite of products, including season, group, and individual game tickets, as well as leading pricing, packaging, and retention strategies to drive revenue growth. He will also be responsible for discovering and implementing innovative service-related technologies and utilizing these tools to measure the effectiveness of ticket sales and improve overall results. In addition, he will develop go-to-market strategies while working closely with the league's marketing team to implement ticket sales and retention-driven campaigns. Prior to joining the XFL, Gonella brings 25 years of leadership experience in ticketing from current and previous roles with Quick Strike Partners, a sales consultancy he founded and led as CEO, who worked with various sports and entertainment clients, including Gotham FC of the National Women's Soccer League. He also served as Vice President of Premium Seating at the Prudential Center under Harris Blitzer Sports and Entertainment. In addition, he has served in various leadership roles with Anschutz Entertainment Group in Staples Center, the Philadelphia Eagles and Lincoln Financial Field, the Minnesota Vikings and U.S. Bank Stadium, the New York Jets and MetLife Stadium, Legends Hospitality and Rose Bowl Stadium, Oakview Group, Wazzer Media Group, and Van Wagner Sports and Entertainment. Gonella will report to Janet Doge. As I have previously mentioned, I will now be joined by fullback tight end Andre Sims to discuss his football journey and XFL Florida Showcase experience. Welcome, Andre. I appreciate you taking the time to join the show to discuss your football journey and pursuit of playing in the XFL.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks for having me on your show.
You're welcome. You played your collegiate ball at Division I powerhouse University of Alabama, Roll Tide. Can you walk us through your college recruitment and the opportunities you had before ultimately choosing to play for Coach Saban, as well as share your college experience?
Okay, before I played football at the University of Alabama, I actually went to school at Miles College, a Division II. They offered me a partial scholarship when I tried out for the team, but because of my grades and my academics, I was ineligible my freshman year. So I had to sit out for that whole year. So by the time my sophomore year came, when I was eligible, I was completely out of state. I was around like 300 pounds. I had actually quit it after 2 weeks of conditioning. I just sent a message to my coach, telling him, I don't think it's not for me. I'm thinking I want to give up football. Then once I told him that, I thought I was completely done with football. But for some reason, like during my sophomore year, I had a dream that told me to go to Alabama, which was crazy because I wasn't an Alabama fan. I didn't grow up watching Alabama. I was a Georgia fan, to be honest.
Wow.
Then I told my parents, like, I want to transfer to Alabama. So during my junior year, I ended up transferring to Alabama, had to sit out a year because it's transferring. Then, as I sat out the spring year, they had a trial come out there. We had like about 90 people coming out there trying out. At that time, they only selected 16 of us for the spring and the summer. After the spring and the summer, when it's time for fall camp, only 6 of us made the team, which is crazy for me because I thought I was going home. Like, they already selected who they want to bring for camp, like all the scholarship players and some of the walk-ons that was there before me. It was 2 days it was time for me to go home. I walked back to the locker room and I seen a letter that said, you've been invited to training camp. Like, training camp? What? I was happy and nervous at the same time because I never done something like this. And I heard all the stories. Like, that first week of camp was amazing. It was so tiresome. That first practice, we had a varsity practice in the morning time and we had a freshman practice at nighttime. Man, that freshman practice was so crazy. Like, it was just multiple reps with no rest time, no periods or nothing like that. And like for that whole month, basically it was the same thing. You get up at 6 a.m., hearing the horn blowing from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Basically the same thing. Working out, eating, training, film study, practice, another lifting section. Like, it's been going like that for a whole month to the end of fall camp. And basically, my first year being in Alabama, I was the offensive line. I was actually 330 pounds playing right, left guard. Basically, I was like a test dummy to them, getting knocked out every day versus our stars. Like, going against Reuben Foster, Reggie Ragland, Sean Hampton, all them boys that made to the NFL. Every day, the same thing over and over, just getting my butt whooped every day. Yeah, basically that's how I went from on and off. But because of my grades, I was in Ezra. I let my GPA drop below a 2.0. So me and another walk-on player, Levi Wallace, who plays for Pittsburgh Steelers right now as a starting cornerback, me and him walked on the same year. Me and him was in Ezra that year when we actually played in the first ever college playoff series when we went against Ohio State, which we lost in the first round. But then our quarterback was Blake Sam. So after my first year at Alabama, I dropped the weight because I wanted to transfer. I wanted to be a fullback. I've always loved blocking back, I realized that I wasn't actually big. I was just fat out of shape trying to be offensive line. So I dropped all the weight during the summertime. I went from 330 pounds to like 250. Then they put out a fullback with the tight end, and that's how it went so far. But at the end of the summer, which I thought I was done because I had one more year of eligibility, I ended up getting cut because I ended up changing my major, and I didn't know nothing about degree percentage or something like that. That made me ineligible. So the year I got cut was the year they won the national championship at Clemson. So you know how it was for me. I was happy and sad at the same time. Like I was really with them boys. I could have got my first championship ring. And yeah.
Take us back a little bit here. So offensive lineman to fullback tight end. So where did this thought or where did this idea come from? And why did you want to do it?
Be honest, I really wanted to be a fullback, but I didn't think nobody would take me serious being that heavy. And when I was there, one had one fullback on Justin Fowles, nicknamed Nudie, who was drafted with the Tennessee Titans. It was his senior year, and that was my junior year. And the rest of the fullback was just walk on. Another walk on named Nice Wonder, which ended up he ended up taking a starting job the next year, and actually got invited to recommend camp with the Kansas City Chiefs. I was thinking to myself, I know how to block. I go compete for the fullback spot because I love the trenches. That's my favorite thing. I love blocking. I love pass protection. But when they moved up to tight end, it was good on blocking, but running routes and catching. That's why I realized I didn't know how to catch. Like I literally our first practice when they recorded us, you see me dropping a wide open pass like the ball was just going straight through my hands. I was like, oh, I don't know how to kick. But yeah, I fell in love with tight ends ever since then.
It's just interesting because players who were athletic quarterbacks, but maybe not your prototypical for size. So we've seen guys, Julian Edelman in the NFL was a quarterback in college, make the switch to a wide receiver. We've seen that type of stuff. Or those type of switches. And I think it's more common. A lot of athletic quarterbacks that might not be the over 6 foot size and pocket passer, but we've seen the game shift on the professional landscape. But I can't think of many guys that switch from offensive line to fullback or offensive line to tight end. I see sometimes tight end receiver kind of switch because some of those guys are size-wise right there. But I just found it very interesting. And what did the coaching staff, what did Coach Saban and the rest of the coaching staff think about the switch? Were they very supportive? Were they kind of hesitant? How was it?
Basically, I really had to prove to them. Like, for instance, our strength coach, Coach Cochran, Scott Cochran, he's with Georgia right now. Basically, I had to work with him and prove to him that I want to drop this weight. I want to be a fullback. I had talked to Coach Burns. He was our previous he was the running back coach there during the time. Like I told him, hey coach, I want to be a fullback. And he said, I need you to drop the weight. I need you to get better shape. So during that summer, I just been working my butt off, dropping the pounds, getting a little bit more faster, being more aggressive. Cause like I said, I love the block. But I just knew I wasn't a lineman. So I chose the next best thing, being a fullback.
And then the tight end thing, how did that, where did that conversation come in? Was that their idea, your idea?
Actually, they merged all the fullbacks with the tight end position. So you had the H-back and the wide back and the wide. You had the H and the wide. So I was in OJ Howard was there playing wide, and I was at the H-back. I was playing H. And that's when me and Nice Wonder we were just competing for that spot, and other fullbacks also. So that's how I became a tight end. That's how I actually fell in love with tight end too. Like, I could do both. I could be a fullback and I could be a tight end.
Well, since leaving college, you've had stints in the spring league and fan-controlled football. How did these opportunities come about, and how have they improved your game?
Okay, how I started out with the spring league, after college, I was playing semi-football, which was crazy because I ended up playing left tackle in semi-football because they didn't have nobody who could actually block. But doing that, I made a great highlight film out of that. And I actually seen that highlight film to all 32 NFL teams just by melding them. Because I seen on YouTube how one semi-football player did the same thing and ended up getting the NFL trial. I like, if he can do it, I can do it too. I sent that out I say mid-July, then nothing never happened. Next I know, in August, I never forget, August 19th, I actually got a letter. Somebody actually mailed me back. I believe it was the Buffalo Bills at first. They said they like my film. Unfortunately, we already had our 90-man roster spot matched out. We're not doing in the future tight end trial, stuff like that. Then another month passed, and ended up getting another letter from Seattle Seahawks saying the same thing. Then I say probably mid-November, the New York Giants emailed me saying the same thing. They received my DVD. Unfortunately, such and such, we don't have opportunity, but we'll keep everybody in track, whatever we're looking for. It wasn't the fact that they actually, an NFL team actually replied back to me, not one, but actually three. And that really did something to me. It was just an exciting thing. Then next year, I say 2019, that's when I heard about the spring league. I believe the first time they did it was back in 2018, and they were talking about how all these folks getting trials and stuff like that. So I decided to go out there for tight end. It was good for the first week, so I messed up my ankle. Thought I tore my ACL or something like that. So I was only playing like 50%. I wasn't going 100%. But I did enough to actually earn a tryout with the XFL. That's when they first started out the XFL Showcase. I actually got invited to the one in Florida. It wasn't the one like the past couple on tryouts that you had to pay for. Like they actually had sent one out to you. But unfortunately, since my leg was injured, I couldn't go out there in Florida. I think it was Tampa Bay, Florida, participate in that Florida Showcase. Then after that, I actually got in contact with my agent, Mr. Farron, and he got a couple of connects about arena football. He's the one actually told me about fantasy football, which I like it because that's the only league that actually use tight ends. Like the other, like with IFL stuff like that, I actually had to be an offensive lineman because they don't use tight ends or nor fullbacks. If they do, like NAL, if they do use fullback, it'll probably be another lineman or a defensive lineman. So LCF was the best choice, which I'm glad that I did participate in because that was my actually first professional football career right there. And it was a great experience. Like all the tight ends on up, like my roommate, you probably heard of him, Tommy OJ, one of the first made first team FPL. Man, that kid was amazing. I'm glad I got a chance to know him. But FPL was a great stepping stone me moving forward.
The XFL has branded itself as a development league. Seeing that you are now officially on the wrong side of 30, it's just a saying, right? I mean, trust me, I'm over 40, so I'm not trying to pick any. But seeing you're on the wrong side of 30, how would you rate your current physical form compared to your younger self? And if coaches or key XFL staff members were to question your overall value, what is it that you bring to the table at this stage of your career?
Like I said, everybody, you will never find a better blocking tight end fullback better than me. You will never find a tight end who loves the trenches, who could get that folks, who can actually hold their own one-on-one against any edge rusher, a defensive end. Like I said, being in Alabama, I played with the best. I know how they work. And being a former offensive lineman, it's not too many tight ends you can find that can move like a lineman. Like a former NFL player, Lee Smith. He's one of the best tight ends I liked out there. 270-some pounds. Every time you see him, he always blocking. That's why I want to be. I want to be the best blocking tight end fullback out there. That's why I bring to the table. That will separate me from any other folks. Like I said, anybody that was my highlight tape. So me blocking, dominating, pancaking folks. Great pass day. Even had a game-winning block with the for the AOPs to send them to the playoffs. Even had an announcement calling my name, Andre Sands, the great block by Andre Sands, blocking the defensive end. That what separates me from any other tight end. I don't look at. I hope they don't judge me on my age because I'm way better than I was back when I was in my 20s. I'm twice as better than I was when I was at Alabama.
Some wines get better with age, right? So it's just a fact. I understand you participated at the XFL Florida Showcase. What was your showcase experience like?
Man, it was a great experience. Man, seeing a lot of athletes, seeing a lot of former players from the fancy pro football. Like it was just great. I couldn't complain. Nice sunny weather, but unfortunately, the tight ends didn't get to finish every drill because we was in a weather delay. We was in a tornado warning or something like that. So none of the tight ends got an opportunity to actually catch balls. But we did our 40s, L cone drill, the triple bar jump, and we did the breakaway data when we was blocking, running route, playing route. Like that was a great experience too.
Did you have any interaction with XFL staff members or head coaches?
No, in the beginning they were talking about it'd be best not to interact with them unless they interact with you. So I was just doing my part to follow the rules.
And no one didn't single you out on anything good, bad, or ugly, so to speak?
It was though. I forgot the offensive line coach. He liked how the way we was blocking when we had especially when it comes to side blocking, like pulling, catch the edge. He liked it that part. Like I said, that part right there, that's why I turn my head. That's right there gonna separate me from the other group if they're blocking.
So you've since have received your data from Breakaway Data. How did your numbers look? How did your rankings look in the percentiles?
Some of them looked okay. Some of them I wish I could have did better. Like the Breakaway Data, I really didn't pay attention like that because some can actually hurt you or help you. In my case, it was kind of like neutral in the even place. Like some was ranked in the 80s and like some were ranked in the 20s. So yeah, it was alright, but I really don't prefer the breakaway day to be honest, because that doesn't determine what kind of play you will be on the field.
Yeah, I understand. It's just a deeper look. So when I was also in attendance at the Florida Showcase, so I was part of the media session. And I had a chance to speak with Doug Whaley, and he was telling me that it's to help find when it comes down to, let's say, 2 or 3 players that essentially look identical. What they do is how can they find the difference between the 2 or 3 players? Because some guys might run the exact same 40. Some guys might have a very similar stance or, form of how they block or whatever, but they can find various measurables in that data, and that's how they can go a little bit further. It's my understanding it's not to decide on all players, but it kind of just gives them a little bit more information where they just may not have had it. Because let's be real, whether it's the National Football League or whether it's the XFL draft, there's only so many players that can get drafted. And when it kind of comes down to the nitty gritty late in the rounds, you might have a couple of guys that have the same exact body, right? Height, weight. They might be very similar as far as speed in the 40. And I think that's where they're going to use that data to kind of go a little bit further on those players. It's not meant to be the deciding, well, it could be the deciding factor, but it's not supposed to be the leading factor. They're supposed to use other criteria, and then they'll use that. So that's why I was just kind of curious where your percentiles were. And if you're rating high in certain ones that might be more important in certain areas or certain positions, I can see that being beneficial. And again, I don't have it in front of me, but that's my understanding. And I also had Steve Guerra, the president and co-founder of Breakaway Data, on my show, and he was kind of just explaining why they do it. It's just to find like the more finer details that you can't see to the naked eye, and so to speak. So it's interesting because it is fairly new, even though analytics have been around for a while. It's a new way of looking at the data that they can collect. And I understand that it's not everything is broke, so don't fix it, so to speak. And a lot of athletes are like, well, we've been doing it this way for a long time, but technology has been incorporated into the sports for a while. We see all those players now wearing those, which looks like a sports bra, but it has that device that kind of records your heart rate and all that, so they know when you're working hard, when you're not. So some people are game players, right? Game day people, and some people sandbag in practice, but there's a lot of coaches now that look at, well, I want you to practice all the time. So if you're not giving it to me in practice now, they might not play you. I mean, Allen Iverson, the famous Philadelphia 76er, once said, well, we're talking about practice, but the reality is the world has been changing, right? And here we are. Breakaway data is kind of part of that. So that's why I asked. It's not doom or gloom. It's just, I'm kind of curious. So how would you rate your overall showcase experience? Did you have a good day normal compared to your normal self? Was it a little bit off? Is it just okay?
I feel like it was a good day because when I did that showcase, like I literally just got done playing in the FPL like a week ago. So I really didn't have I didn't really have much time to let my body recuperate. But I still gave out there. I gave the best I can, gave 100%. I felt great going up there. I felt great leaving there. I left it all on there. And hey, I'm just being patient.
That's all you can do at this point, right? So you are represented by Romero Ferdinand. Can you share how his agency has helped you in the pursuit of achieving your goals?
Man, before I met him, I was just like struggling, trying to get an opportunity. I met him. I messaged him on Twitter, and I ended up signing with him. Like I say, probably like a week ago, he already had 2 arena football teams looking at me. I actually got a contract from the CIF. I forgot the name of the team. And then I had another team, the Arizona Rattlers. He said he could probably give me an opportunity there, but I had to add more weight on he want me to play lineman. And I don't want to add the weight because health-wise and being 30, I don't want to gain that much weight ever again. So LPF was the next thing. It went from a tryout to a workout. Like everything went normal and stuff like that. But again, when it was time for one-on-one, we came to the blocking. That's when I turned heads around. And I knew at that point, I was going to get the contract. Like I was the number one blocker. I was the number one blocker at LPF. Every time the defensive coach or defensive player like, dog, where you played at? How you learn how to block like that? Like I've been a lineman all my life. That's what I love. That's what I love to do. I love to block.
Well, this is what's interesting in these alternative football leagues, whether it's the XFL, the USFL, they have smaller roster sizes. So they usually look for players that are able to play multiple positions or even within a position, multiple roles. Even when you look at receivers, outside, inside receiver, you obviously have skill sets and experience playing various positions. And I understand you said you don't want to gain weight, but this could also be your strength. As far as I know, you haven't received an XFL draft invitation yet, correct?
Yes, sir. Correct.
So you have a strength that most people don't. Like some people switched from high school to college, and now it's going to be difficult for them to go back. You have been within a couple of years versus, pro versus high school, like some of these guys have switched. So it's interesting where that could be your strength. Has anybody anywhere talked about that? We were just discussing that, somebody was asking you to put on weight to play lineman for a position you didn't want to do it. But how much has that been a discussion about opportunities in those possibilities?
I'd say a couple opportunities, but I just didn't know like how much weight they want to put on. Cause right now I'm at 240, which I really do like. But if I need to put on more weight, I'll probably add probably like 10 more pounds. Cause that's what I tried to do back when I was in college, when I was in Alabama. I put weight on the wrong way. That's how I knew there wasn't muscle, it was just fat. When I first transferred to Alabama, I was 300. When I was actually on the Alabama football roster, I was 328 pounds. So yeah, that weight does take effect, but I wouldn't mind putting on weight. It's just how much do they want me to put on there? Because it really don't matter how much I weigh. Like I said, I can still block like a lineman. I don't care if a defensive player is 300 pounds. I guarantee you, I get my quarterback 4 seconds. 4 seconds, the ball be gone. Or you run out of pocket, you're in your own.
So, outside of football, what have you been up to? Is there any particular hobbies, anything like that?
I work at the YMCA as a substitute teacher. Besides football, I got my degree in education, so when I'm ready to hang up my cleats, I will be a full-time teacher. I love helping kids out. I love being around kids. I'm a pre-K teacher as we speak right now. Dealing with 4-year-olds, just getting them ready to go to the next level, getting ready for kindergarten, where they go to the big schools, just helping them out. Like, I enjoy being around with kids.
I've had an XFL executive appear on the show before. So I typically provide each of my guests an opportunity or a last plea. If XFL coaches or key staff members were to tune into this episode, what is there about you that is greatly unknown that you want them to know about you? Like, it's vital to who you are. And why should they send you an invitation to the draft?
And it's my why. I guarantee it's that why. Why should they select me? Like, I'm looking at this man, he's over 30. He's a risk factor. And I just tell coaches, don't judge me because of my age. If you give me an opportunity, I can showcase what my ability is. I tell coaches every day, you will never find a better blocking tight end or fullback like me, or special team player. You will never find a tight end who loves the trenches. You will never find a tight end who can actually sustain a pass protection on his own. You will never find another tight end who can actually read to get off the block to move up to the secondary level, who can pull like a lineman. That what separates me from others. I guarantee there is not one, no disrespect to anyone who got the draft invite. There's no one in that draft, any tight ends or fullback that can block better than me. And I'm ready to prove it. Like I said, I'm going to be patient. The draft is until November. They have the supplementary draft. Patience is the key. I'm going to continue to work hard. I know my opportunity is coming.
Andre, it has been a pleasure. I appreciate you taking the time to come on the show and talk with me about your football experience and XFL Showcase experience. I hope you get offered your XFL draft invitation. But more importantly, I'd like to see you get selected and make a roster for 2023. Because if so, I'd love to have you come back so we can talk about how things are progressing for you and ultimately your team.
Man, thank you, Mike. This was my first podcast ever, man. I sound a little bit nervous, but I'm grateful for the opportunity.
You're welcome. If some of our listeners wanted to follow you and your journey, where could they do so?
They can follow me on Twitter, and can read.
Well, perfect. Thank you, Andre.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You're welcome. Although Andre came from an iconic collegiate program, I felt his journey of coming through the practice team as an offensive lineman and transition to fullback tight end to eventually turning professional is an interesting journey and one that needed to be shared. Unfortunately, there has not been any Let's Talk XFL fan line messages for this week. If you have a comment, question, or hot take and would like it to be heard on the show, reach out to Let's Talk XFL fan line by calling 863-TALK-XFL or 863-825-5935. Doing so, your message could be included in an upcoming episode.
Perez. Colby Pearson breaks the tackle, and there he goes.
All good things must come to an end. This concludes another episode of Let's Talk XFL. As always, I am interested in receiving your feedback. So do not be a stranger. Reach out to let me know your thoughts, and if you do so, your comments might just make it on the show. But before you go, do not forget to subscribe and rate the show on your platform of choice. One last thing. If you're interested in checking out our friends over at Royal Retros by 503 Sports, do not forget to click on the link in the show's description and notes, as well as that sweet code, LETSTALKXFL, for 10% off your purchase. Thank you for tuning in. Till next time, cheers.
Thank you for tuning in to today's show. Don't forget to subscribe and rate Let's Talk XFL on your platform of choice. Follow Let's Talk XFL on Facebook and Twitter at Let's Talk XFL. Do you have a question or topic you would like to have addressed on the show? Message the show via social media or send an email to letstalkxfl@gmail.com.